Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanviaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
Hello and welcome to Farmview. Well, as usual, it's Kieran O'Connor here with your weekly farming programme, and once again I have a very busy show for you this week. Well, on this week's programme I'll discuss the importance of farm safety during the upcoming silage season. I'll also hear about the success of the 2020 Beef Club, and plus I have an update on this year's tillage crops. Well, with our silage season just about to kick off, of course, each year, unfortunately, it's a very bad time as regards serious accidents and, unfortunately, some deaths as well on our farms. So to discuss this upcoming busy season on farm, we're joined from Kildalton College by Teagasc Farm Safety Officer John McNamara. John, welcome back to our programme.
Thank you very much, Kieran.
John, as I said in the intro, we're kicking off a busy season, the silage season. But before we go into the silage season, just so far this year, how's it been on farm as regards serious injury and indeed deaths as well, indeed, compared to last year?
So far this year, Kieran, 2 farm deaths have taken place. Now, that is too many. Now, that said, that is a considerable drop on previous year's trends. For instance, in last year, 2020, up to the middle of the year, there was 14 deaths. This time last year, there was a crisis going on, with all the farm deaths. Compliments to farmers nationally for putting in the effort and, cutting accidents, maybe due to a bit more labour on farms, sons and daughters working.
COVID could have had an effect on it,
Yeah, and there might be a bit more help on farm.
John, as regards serious injury last year, just before we came on air, I just asked you that question. I was staggered to read, and I know it firsthand from our own family back in Capriquin as regards serious injury on farm. 2,500 serious injuries. That's a staggering figure.
Yeah, we do ongoing research, and that's our latest estimate, but we've been doing them for many years, and our data is very strong. So a lot of the accidents occur both with livestock and with machinery. They'd be the big two. And then after that, about trips and falls around the farmyards, including falls from height. So it's a big figure. And all those accidents, somebody went to a hospital. Like farmers don't report kind of scratches to us. They like to report something that they remember. And a lot of those accidents put people out of work for a couple of days or a week or more, and in some cases up to 80 or 90 days.
Yeah. And of course also serious accidents, and again we've seen it firsthand, can leave people very seriously injured, confined to wheelchairs or whatever, and also losing limbs. So I think it's an area that definitely really stands out from the upset that can happen from a farm accident.
I think prevention is better than cure, I think safety, it must always be put to the fore and based on the consequences of injuries.
Now, John, we mentioned the silage season just about kicking off, and we'll have great, unbelievable amount of movement over the next couple of weeks, particularly down here in the Waterford and the South East. We'll be one of the first counties to get silage operations up and running. Machinery, as you mentioned, again a big bugbear. Livestock and machinery are two of the big players, but machinery and silage season, really, it's a hectic time on farm, and also a huge one as regards the importance of farm safety.
Yeah, cutting silage it continues to be a big job on a farm, and that. Now, that said, I think over the years things have got, dare I say, it's a bit calmer. And that, we have many superb contractors in the country, that do a great job. And now what's required is good cooperation between farmers and contractors, and if a farmer is unhappy with any matter, he should say to the contractor, and if it's unsafe, the work should be stopped until it's put right. But I wouldn't expect that to happen on many cases. Now, there's a few potential high-risk areas. One would be working on the public road and access on and off the public road. So good vision is important, keeping roads clear of any extraneous...
And bollards and signage, I suppose, as well.
Bollards and silage, very important, putting in the right place. But remember, you're not allowed to put them on the metal surface of the road. That's one area I'd like to highlight. The other being around the farmyard, we have massive machines now, and they go around corners. So we have massive machines in relatively small farmyards. And, very important to ensure that kids are not around and that older farmers as well, because, tractors coming around corners can strike somebody.
John, you mentioned the key area there because for two reasons. Children, first of all, curiosity, but also the elderly and the retired farmer coming out to see the activity. It's a hive of activity. They've been building up to it for a few months. You could get an elderly person just wandering out. So it's important that both elderly and children are kept well clear of that target area.
No, absolutely. And come here, we safety officers, we're not killjoys or anything like that. No, people like to see what's going on, and that there is great excitement, especially for kids with tractors and machinery from a distance, and under supervision and in control, so that injuries don't take place.
John, one area that I really, when I see it on the road, you just take a gasp of air. The age of some of the kids, or when I say kids, the young boys who are seen driving these huge machines with big trailers behind them. I believe there's legislation on the way to try and bring that up to 18, because it is staggering that numbers of, which appear to me to be very much younger guys, driving this huge heavy machinery on our main roads.
Yeah, no, well, the reality is that in order to drive this big, massive machinery tackle, all you need is a provisional license, right? A number of people have brought that to our attention in recent weeks. Now, it's a matter for the Road Safety Authority, really, and a number of years ago, my understanding is that they did a thorough review of this issue, not to do with silage alone, but just to do with operating of machinery on the road and what licensing is required. So my understanding is that they're considering changes in legislation or whatever is required. But I would understand people's concerns about very young people driving tractors, and I think farmers, if they're not happy with anything, they should bring it to the attention of the contract.
Well, John, as we said in the outset, we're starting off to a very busy period. Farm Safety Officer for Teagasc, it's a hugely important period. Thankfully, so far, as you said, two deaths is too many, but 2 down from 14 last year. Let's hope the trend of good farm safety maintains over the next 4 or 5 weeks, which is a crucial time. John McNamara, Farm Safety Officer for Teagasc at Kildalton College. John, thanks for taking our call. Fingers crossed that we'll have a good and safe silage season for 2021. Thanks for taking our call, John.
Thank you, Kieran.
Well, the 2020 Beef Club is now open for 2021 calf intake. Of course, set up in 2019, it's been a huge success for Keepack and Glanbia, Ireland. To join us on the line to discuss the 2020 Beef Club and the potential for 2021 calf intake is Michael O'Dowd, Agri-Business Manager for Keepack. Mick, welcome to our programme.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Delighted to join you today.
Mick, the 2020 Beef Club, obviously it's open for 2021 calf in. Can you take us back to the setting up, why it was decided to set up and how well it has gone for you?
Yeah, delighted to, Kieran. I suppose it was launched in April of 2019, but probably a good 12 months' work had gone in between both ourselves in Keepack and Glanbia, Ireland, the team in both companies. And I suppose there was many reasons for it, many motivations on both sides. But ultimately, it was about, I suppose, bringing more certainty and predictability into the beef supply chain. And certainly to, focusing on the dairy side of things, it was to improve the beef calf coming off the dairy herd.
And was there a problem really that the right type of animal for the likes of yourselves in Keepack wasn't being produced, or was there a real big vacuum there, a huge room literally for improvement?
Well, I suppose the trend would have been in the kill, maybe a 60-40 split between beef coming off the suckler herd versus off the dairy herd. But, since the increase, everybody understands the expansion in dairy that took place over the last 10 years. So that has probably swung close the other direction. Now, this is a programme that suckler farmers are open to as well, but particularly focusing on the dairy, the dairy beef. For some farmers who finished their own stock, there wasn't an issue at all. But for others, maybe the calf, the beef calf coming off that herd was being somewhat neglected. It wasn't the priority. It was all understandably in many cases about the cow and the milk, and the beef calf was maybe being forgotten about. So this programme, one of the areas that it really wanted to focus in on was improving that beef calf coming from that dairy cow.
So really your 2020 Beef Club, for a guy to get involved, you started back in 2019, I believe, with 6,000 cattle. What did you end up with last year, and what's the potential for 2021, and how do guys get involved in the actual club?
Yeah, so when we set out, we had ambitious targets. We had a pilot phase, which was the 2019 born calves, We set a target of 6,000 calves. We were oversubscribed on that. For the 2020 born calves, we had 20,000, was a big jump, obviously. Again, we hit our target on that. And then our target, overall target on a yearly basis in terms of intake was 50,000 calves.
Nice.
Now, in this year for the 2021 born calves, we don't expect to hit 50,000. We probably will be further on, somewhere in the 30,000 bracket. But it's to answer the question in terms of what do farmers need to do. So I suppose the first step that a farmer needs to do, the literature is out there, and certainly if a farmer in the region does not know anything about it, contact either ourselves in Keepack or the team in Glanbia, and we will give you plenty of information on it. But the first step is to sign an expression of interest form, and that allows a consent to just view the profile of your herd through the ICBF portal. But once you're happy with the protocols that are involved in the programme, what happens then is you just register your calves, your ear tags, and then follow the protocols as set out in the programme. And those protocols centre around genetics, nutrition. You get full technical support from the Keepack and Glanbia team throughout the programme. But also you get presented then with a pricing structure that will apply when those calves come to slaughter within, I suppose, 24 months' time.
Now, reading some brief on it, you say that over €100 per head, the benefits for some farmers last year ended up around €100 per head. But I think key in all this, as you mentioned, the genetic, the breed mix as such, and indeed, was that a problem on farm and had to be improved on, and also the production, the daily life weight gain, and the use of grass, the more efficient use of grass. So that whole advice and advisory part of the club is hugely important.
Oh, really important, and one of the things we say to the members, and, I suppose in terms of members who have already finished cattle through the programme, we're over 120 at this point, but we've probably doubled that signed up between the 2020 born calves and 21 born calves already. So I suppose one of the things we say to members at the start is every bonus that's outlined in the programme, we want you achieving it. So to do that, we feel giving the farmer that technical support throughout the lifespan of the animal is really, really important. It's a heifer steer programme. It's open to all breeds bar Jersey, the Jersey breed. It's a 0 or 1 movement, so the animal's either finished on the farm, from the farm that it was born on, or after 1 movement to the finishing farm. And I suppose so far, Kieran, we've seen average weights coming in around 330 kilos for the steers, 300 for the heifers. And as a result of that, the bonus structure is somewhere between, depending on where the market is at and the price, the average quoted price in the market, it will be between 15 and a minimum of 15 cent and a maximum of 25 cent. It's obviously then there's seasonality. So currently we're talking in May now. There's an additional 10 cent in May. There's a guaranteed breed bonus for Angus and Hereford cattle. So I suppose it's a very comprehensive pricing structure that's available.
So guys will want to call their, as you said, their local Keepack representative or Glanbia Ireland representative. As regards and we'll finish on this, the average age of slaughter, getting that reduced, was that a problem out there, and how effective have you been in reducing the average age of slaughter?
Well, I wouldn't in any way say it's a problem out there. The retail spec, I suppose, is under 30 months. And the average for dairy beef in general is probably in the 28 months, 27 and a half, 28 months bracket. To date, the average age of cattle that have come through the programme is 24 months. Well, the science from all the good research by Chagas and ICBF would tell you that there's a direct correlation between methane emissions and age at slaughter. So I suppose this programme will kind of deliver probably up to a 20% reduction in methane emissions as a result of the age of slaughter that the cattle are coming through it.
Well, Mick, it was a great initiative set up in 2019. It went up to 20,000 last year. Obviously, you're hoping for a lot bigger number this year, obviously up to around double that type of number for 2021. It's open for interest and indeed open for 2021 calf intake. More information, I suppose, contact Keepack Direct or your local Glanbia representative. Mick O'Dowd, Agri-Business Manager for Keepack. Mick, thanks for taking our call. I'm delighted it's working so well, and best of luck with your 2020 Beef Club for this year's calf intake.
Thanks very much, Kieran.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.
And you're welcome back to part 2 of Farmview Now. Let's have a look at some items on our farming calendar. First of all, turning to our livestock marts. Well, they continue this Saturday morning with Rawford Ross Mart in New Ross with cattle sales from 9:30, calf sales from 10. On Mondays, Dungarvan Mart's cattle sale every Monday from 11 o'clock. And a reminder that their very successful calf sales will continue every Thursday from 12 noon. And don't forget, all sales are now online at livestocklive.com. Turning to our farmer markets and country markets this Saturday morning, Waterford Farmers Market, John Roberts Square, as well as the Strawberry Farmers Market every Saturday morning from 10 till 12:30. Thursday, Dungarvan Farmers Market, Grattan Square, Dungarvan, every Thursday from 9 until 2. While on Friday, we've Dungarvan Country Markets now reopened every Friday at the Scouts tent from 9 until 1. While the Waterford Farmers Market has reopened at St Olave's Hall and will continue every Friday from 9 until 1. And a note in from Waterford Market to tell us that they continue the very successful weekly walks, with next Wednesday's walk taking place at the Ann Valley Dunhill from 7:30. Well, for an update on this year's tillage crop, we're joined by tillage specialist Donald Fitzgerald, the gold crop, of course, Clashmore native and very well known in the tillage sector. Donald, welcome back to our programme.
Thanks, Kieran.
Donald, this year's crops, firstly, how are they looking? We had a bit of a dry spell there for a couple of weeks. Has that had an impact? But overall, how are the crops, both spring and winter, looking?
Well, we've had a reasonably good spring for sowing. Weather conditions there at the time of sowing were good. Things dried up nicely. We had a very wet January and February, as you know. Things dried up nicely. Temperatures came up. It was good for sowing crops. And, all the crops were put in good order. Everything got off to a fine start. And then April came, and it came kind of harsh. We had a lot of northerly and easterly wind with a lot of night frosts, which was unusual. And temperatures struggled to get up, I suppose, more than the low teens in most days. And everything has really come through pretty good. We had a dry spell of weather, as you said. And look, we had a drop of rain there at the weekend, and there's more forecast for the coming weekend. But it's staying quite harsh. But I would say overall, crops are off to a reasonably good start. Disease pressure, aphid pressure, and weeds and everything else are low. And if you take winter crops, it's been a bit more challenging because for growers trying to manage their crop inputs, particularly their sprays, it's been hard to try and get the timing of sprays right because of the weather, and trying to manage frost in particular was a challenge.
As regards to the actual spring crops, as you mentioned, they've got off to a good start. Are more and more guys looking for added value, be it malting barley, organic oats, gluten-free oats, equine oats or whatever, or do you find that that's happening again this year?
Definitely, Kieran, yeah. There's more that is being put into crops all the time. I know locally here, where I live in East Cork, a lot of the spring barley is now attracting a premium, be it in the form of a malting premium, a distilling premium, or a seed premium. And it's good to see because it's adding value to the farmer's gross bottom line, and it's also putting a bottom line under a definitive demand on the end use of the product. There's a good bit more added value coming into the system, which is great to see. Hopefully that will continue.
And of course, down here with Flahavans here in Waterford, they're doing huge work as regards organic oats, and then you have Glanbia with their gluten-free oats. So that whole area has really taken off and has been very successful.
Yeah, oats. Oats is obviously Waterford. It's synonymous with oats through Flahavans, of course. And in recent times, we're seeing a bit more demand for organic oats. And I know ourselves this year we've launched a little bit new source of organic seed, and that's sold very well. And we're seeing an increased demand for organic oat seed, which is feeding into an increased demand for oats for making porridge and the likes. And I know Flahavans have been struggling to try and get enough native oats supplied to fill that demand for the organic product, which they're seeing an increased demand for too on the consumer side. So ideally, previously they would have been having to bring in some of this organic oats from abroad, and it's great to see now that they can start filling that demand from a native source. And there seems to be more interest in the EU farm to fork policy as well in trying to promote that system.
Dolan, you're very much involved in the industry and indeed both nationally as well on various committees. The importation of grain, it's been a bugbear, but has our total production of grains improved, or are we kind of at a kind of plateau at the minute?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a small increase year on year in the total area of arable crops being grown, and I think certainly in the last 12 months or even 2 years, we're seeing an increased focus on and promotion of the tillage sector, and there's certainly an opportunity there for the tillage area to expand, because we are net importers of feed grain to supply the ruminant industry, particularly the dairy industry and the pig industry. So there are scope there to displace importation and to produce more of our own native products. I'm involved in a number of committees where we're trying to drive certain products and productivity of certain grains. One such group I'm involved in at the moment is a protein stakeholders group, and that's a huge challenge for the country going forward, to try and increase the amount of concentrated protein feed that we can grow. I
mentioned to you before, Donny, about this beans, and we'll just finish on this one, but beans in particular, a lot of potential out there, a lot of work gone in as regards protein beans. How is that developing, or do you feel it's a runner?
Yeah, it's a runner, Kieran. I don't think we're ever going to get to a place where we're going to completely displace all the protein that's required, by, for example, getting rid of soybean meal or something like that. But there is huge scope there to increase the native demand of supply of beans, and hopefully we can get that level up to 100,000 tonnes in the next 3 or 4 years. I know that the government are hoping to bring in some more schemes to help this, and with productivity gains through better varieties, through better agronomic practices. We're switching into some winter varieties now too. I can see a whole new level of consistency being brought to the crop, which I think will help growers to get more in tune with it and see it as a reliable crop rather than something that they might necessarily want to get into as their first choice,
Don, listen, all good to hear. I'm delighted to hear that this year's crops are looking so well in the ground as we speak, both winter and spring. Don Fitzgerald, tillage specialist at Gold Crop in East Cork. Don, thanks for taking a call. We'll be in touch with you right throughout the season. Let's hope this year's harvest, we'll have a good bumper harvest for the tillage sector. Don, thanks for taking our call.
Thank you, Kieran.
Well, before I go on the racing front, we had a good week again for local Waterford connections. Cross Channel, a nice winner for Dungarvan-born trainer Dennis Coakley at Chelmsford. While back home, it's that man again, Knockeen trainer Henry de Brom had saddled Honeysuckle to capture the champion hurdle at Punchestown, while he was back in the winner's enclosure at Downroyal with local Waterford jock Dylan Robinson on board. While at the Curragh at the weekend, well-known owners, the Dunphy family of Portlaw, had a very impressive winner at the Curragh. While on the point-to-point for the Tipperary last weekend, we had wins for Kill owners Peter and Eileen Quealy with trainer Bernard Crowley, while we'll also had a fine double for Tallow jock James Hannon. Well, that's my lot for this week's programme. Once again, my thanks to Sean and Racy for all their help in putting this week's programme together. So from myself, Kieran O'Connor, stay safe, keep up the protocol, and hopefully I'll have your company again same time next week.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.